Yes, we do. We need those strategies. Those strategies for living, that is. So are you ready? You ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Well, if you're ready, it gives me confidence that everybody else is going to be ready.
Yeah, I'm bringing everybody else along.
Okay.
I'm ready enough for everybody.
Good to know. Good to know. Hey, folks, welcome. Welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan, and she is PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan, psychotherapist extraordinaire.
I don't know about that. The first part is definitely accurate.
Okay, well,
I strive for the second.
Keep reaching. You're going to get there. I have no doubt about that. One of the things we started talking yesterday about relationship stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Being a healthy couple, and we may just continue this couple thing.
We're just going to be relating all week.
Yeah, we may do that.
I like that.
Yeah. So one of the things that you hear a lot about when you hear about relationships today is you hear a lot about secure attachment. You hear a lot about what is called in psychology, it's called attachment theory.
Right.
And how securely someone is attached in childhood really affects how they act in relationships.
Absolutely. It sets the tone.
It really does. So I thought it would be interesting today for us to take a look at how securely attached people act in relationships.
Because that's what we're striving towards, secure attachment. Right?
Yes.
We can go into the other attachment styles.
Well, and not everybody, had an experience in childhood of secure attachment. There's no doubt about that.
No,
but here's the deal. If you understand what secure attachment is, then you can actually, the great news is that you can actually heal.
Absolutely.
In a loving, committed, healthy relationship. You can actually heal a lot of things. That's
the whole point of relationships.
Yeah,
Truly is for us to grow personally and then together.
Absolutely. And so we're going to unpack that this evening here on Strategies for Living, and glad that you are along with us, folks. You're the reason we do this. And we can do it because of our wonderful sponsors, the Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. How securely attached people act in relationships. We're talking about that today, right here on Strategies for Living. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. We're talking about how securely attached people act in relationships this evening here on Strategies for Living. So let's talk a little bit about attachment theory before we dive in, because I think it's important for people to understand fully what we're talking about.
At least get the basics.
Get the basics of this. Yeah, not we're not going to do this where you can go and take a psychological exam and pass it or
Right.
anything. But, we all need enough information to understand. And attachment theory, I think this model is a very, very good one because it describes the dynamics of long-term interpersonal relationships, particularly children and their caregivers.
Right. And it's a long-standing theory and well-backed and well-researched as well.
Very much so.
Applicable.
It was first developed by a British psychologist, John Bowlby, in the mid-20th century, right around the 50s.
Yep.
If my memory is correct, 1958, I think, is when it really, took off. And the theory says that the quality of your attachment relationships in early childhood can significantly influence an individual's emotional and social development throughout their life.
Sure. I mean, our first caregivers are our introduction into the world and the society and how we relate.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a template for the rest of the world until we recognize the template. And at that point, then we can change it should we need or want to.
Right. And so, the attachment behaviors they're what we do. They're the behaviors that promote closeness with a caregiver. So, crying, clinging, following.
Right.
They're instinctual responses that are designed to keep the caregiver nearby, especially in times of distress.
Right.
Right.
And if I'm remembering correctly, some of the first experiments were done with, parents interacting with the child in a room and then leaving.
Right.
And you're observing the child's behavior after the parent leaves in order to determine their attachment.
Right. Right. We talk about a secure base. So the caregiver provides a secure base. It's like, the base from which the child can explore the world.
Yeah.
We all played the game where you had to get back to base and you're safe at base, right? And so that's the whole deal. A secure base, the child feels secure. And when that happens, that child is more likely to explore their world, their environment, and develop over time this sense of independence.
Right, because they know that they have a secure base in their primary caregiver to which they can then return should anything else in the world be too much, right? For whatever reason. Right.
So then from there, you can look at your attachment style. So this would be based on the quality of the attachment. Children develop different attachment styles, and that influences their relationships later in life. So you can have a secure attachment. And here's where children feel confident that their caregiver will meet their needs, and they're very comfortable exploring the world. I was playing around with AI earlier in the day, and I made you a coloring sheet. So I asked AI, I'll hold it up here to the radio so people can see it, or maybe you can just describe it. But anyway, AI is, I don't want to get off on this, but it's just incredible what AI can do. So I asked it to do a coloring sheet to depict a secure attachment. And what did it come up with there on your coloring sheet?
It looks pretty accurate. It's, a mom holding the little boy's hand, and they're looking lovingly at each other.
Yep.
He's got a backpack, so, he's ready to go off.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. You like to color, so, I figured that might be something you know.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad to do it.
Appreciate the thought.
Okay, so that's a secure attachment. And then there's the insecure avoidant attachment.
Okay,
so
yeah.
here's where children may appear emotionally distant and avoid closeness with others. And it's often due to caregivers who were emotionally unavailable or dismissive to their children.
Right. And so how that looks then later in adulthood, right, is hyper independence quite often, right? It's where, I can't, because as a child you couldn't depend on your caregiver to meet your needs.
Right.
And this is not just physical needs, I'm talking emotional, mental and emotional. You couldn't go to your parent with your big feelings and trust them to help you with it. And so later on, you don't trust anyone else with it.
All right. So it's interesting that you're talking about hyper independence often showing up in this insecure avoidant attachment. So, that begs to think about what is a healthy relationship attachment. So it's between independence and interdependence, because when you enter into a relationship with a significant other, there are some things that, you want to continue and you need to continue to do for yourself.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, because you're two individuals, whole individuals.
But the whole idea is sharing one another's world.
Right.
Right? So there's got to be a certain amount of
Healthy interdependence.
Yeah. So it's again, we use the word balance a lot on this program because it's so important.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would add that that's quite a unique balance that's found between couples. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no formula for the perfect healthy interdependence, right?
Right.
I mean, that's determined within couples.
It is, although we're kind of going to give a template
Yes, we're going to give
this evening
That's good.
of kind of an ideal, something that we could all kind of shoot for.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So we've got secure attachment. We've got insecure avoidant attachment.
Sometimes it's just called avoidant.
Sometimes it's just avoidant. And then we have insecure, anxious, ambivalent attachment.
Okay.
And so children may be clingy and dependent, and that's often due to inconsistent caregiver responsiveness and availability, right?
Right.
So again, that's insecure, anxious / ambivalent attachment. The word ambivalent is an interesting word. Ambivalence is really kind of like, you kind of have a saying sometimes when I ask you something and you go,
Yeah.
yeah,
Meh.
that meh.
Yeah.
That's
whatever.
ambivalent.
It could go either way.
Yeah, to me, that's ambivalence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and so much of our lives are about, even on a day-to-day basis, Lauren, we don't even think about how many choices we make in the course of a day. And some of them are very, very simple
Millions.
choices, right?
Yes.
But ambivalence is one of those things that can show up and can really kind of almost give a meaninglessness to our lives,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think anxious attachment in adulthood often shows up as a constant need for reassurance or
okay.
validation within the relationship.
Yep.
It often also shows up as, if you are the one with the anxious attachment, you have kind of a more negative internal dialogue and you view others as more positive.
Right.
So it's that kind of, this is jokingly, but for an anxious person, it's way more real. They view someone else as the better half, right?
Right.
And it comes with kind of a devaluing of self.
Right. And then finally, you have disorganized attachment. And this is where children show a lack of any clear attachment behavior. And it often results from frightening or chaotic caregiving environments.
In other words, it's kind of a combination / confusion of the other two.
Right.
In terms of it can show up kind of as both and or either or of the anxious or avoidant attachment styles.
Right. So you might want to, think about, okay, well, how were my needs met as a child? And how am I doing in my relationship as an adult?
And just as something that I've noticed, and I'm pretty sure research has shown, you can go look this up and back me up, I'm not 100% positive, but a trend is that anxious partners will often seek out avoidant partners. Yeah. That's often a common pairing.
Yep. And that's one of the things about this theory that's fascinating because it's there's so much internal stuff because, the idea is that our attachments in childhood influence how we perceive ourselves. We talk about this all the time.
Yes.
Our primary relationship is the relationship that we develop and have with ourselves. And so it influences how we were treated in childhood. How did we get a secure attachment, an insecure avoidant, insecure, anxious, ambivalent, or disorganized?
And the natural inclination is you're going to seek out a partner who is similar to the caregiver that you have the attachment wound with.
Very much so.
In order to heal that. And so that's part of our huge job within relationships is to communicate our triggers and how we can help each other heal.
And it makes an enormous difference in couple relationships.
Yeah.
If people understand that.
Oh, huge.
And
huge.
So
it's
many
not personal.
people, no. And so many people, because, again, it plays out on the unconscious level, the subconscious level, until I bring it to consciousness. That's one of the reasons that we do this kind of stuff on strategies.
I saw something somewhere recently where it said, I can either work on healing my traumas now or wait until I can.
Now would be better. But either will work.
Some things can't be solved outside of relationships.
Yeah,
so.
You're right. We're talking about today how securely attached people act in relationships. When we come back from this break, we're just really going to dive into that now that we've given kind of a brief idea of attachment theory. Be right back here on Strategies for Living. Don't go away. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. How many times do I say there is no place like Robinson Film Center?
You don't say it enough.
Well, no, I probably don't. And there is no place like the Robinson Film Center. I mean, where do you go to see current movies that you're not going to see anyplace else? Well, Robinson Film Center. Find out what's showing at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And then you've got Abby Singer's Bistro, right? Full-service bistro and bar, second floor of the Robinson.
That's what I can't get enough of.
Oh, man. So, here's what you want to do. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. RobinsonFilmCenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with LearningRx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, LearningRx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call LearningRx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does LearningRx Shreveport.
And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. And this edition of Strategies for Living. Psychotherapists, PLPC, Lauren Leon McMillan and David McMillan, talking about how securely attached people behave and act in relationships. And We talked about kind of some attachment theory here. You gotta
Which I highly encourage people, if you're anyway interested, to just do a brief internet search.
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch out there.
Or dive into some books. It's great information for all of us as we are evolving as humans.
Absolutely. So, people who have a secure attachment were raised to understand that their needs matter.
Right.
Because people responded to them positively while they were developing in their growth and development period. So what happens is they're comfortable being open and honest about what they need. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a big one. And if
it's massive.
If you have either, if your needs were not met or were dismissed, or you had to make your needs smaller or abandon your own needs in order to get love and attention and attachment growing up, this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
And it requires a lot of reworking internally and externally in relationship, right? In order to, one, know your needs. You've got to get to know what your needs are and then be able to voice them.
Yeah. You and I grew up in a religion that has a concept of quote unquote original sin, right? Yes. And, I don't think there's anything magic. I think it's original blessing. I think God made us good and whole, and, we're children of God. So, right. But I do think that the idea of quote unquote original sin has some merit in that hurt people. I mean, so
okay,
and so that's where. So I mean, when you really look at attachment theory, then the idea of how many people truly got all of their needs met, and it's impossible. It's impossible to meet all. But
if you're a new parent, that is an impossible standard.
Right.
You can do the best you can, and you're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
The important part is the repair of that,
and doing your best on an ongoing basis.
Right.
And then when you realize, I've messed up here,
just being honest,
and quickly moving to repair. And what would our world look like?
Oh, my goodness.
How would our world look different if we had a world full of people raised in securely attached relationships?
Well,
I mean, that's just something to ponder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd likely be out of a job, which is okay.
Yeah. Well,
From that regard.
Absolutely. Would you like fries with that?
Yeah. That's where I'd be now.
So, when you go into a relationship trying to, pick me, hey, choose me, I got to please you,
Anxious attachment.
Yeah. So, but healthy attachment knows that they can go into a relationship and they can express themselves authentically, right?
Right.
But if a person is constantly pulling away or running or isn't interested, they see this as a positive indication that the relationship isn't for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if you are securely attached, when someone pulls away or runs or they're not interested, if you're securely attached, you're going to see that as an indication that the relationship just isn't for you. You're
Right.
not going to take it personally.
You're not,
If you're anxiously attached, you might have the inclination to chase.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And if you're avoidant, you might have the tendency to withdraw and turn that on yourself as, well, what did I do?
And
right?
you might come up with, see, I just fail at all relationships.
Right,
I
there
can't
it
do
is.
this.
Yeah.
So, any of those stances other than the secure attachment, and we're talking about behaviors now
Right.
of people who demonstrate secure attachment, then that can be problematic. Now, we said earlier that, this stuff is really, really important because it's really, really prevalent.
It's real.
It's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talk about, we use some of Dr. John Gottman's theory,
Yes.
and I've kind of taken it and built upon it, right? So Dr. Gottman talks about a sound marital house, and I've kind of taken his model and added to it a bit.
Right.
I think the base. He starts his base with the marital friendship, and I put a foundation under that of safety,
Right.
of developing
From Sternberg's triangle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I kind of added Sternberg's triangle into Gottman's house, and then added something beyond that, and that is what kind of a relationship do you have with yourself? That's the kind of ground that the relationship is built upon. If you know yourself and you have a healthy relationship with yourself, and I would even say friendship with yourself, that's solid ground. Now we can build a relationship, and we can put a foundation upon that, and know that foundation is going to be solid.
It won't be cracking.
Well, yeah, what happens?
In the middle of the...
We get this a lot around here because I think a lot of foundations, are poured on shifty soil, right? And so over time, what happens? The foundation begins to show cracks.
Right.
And then that can go and extend up the walls and the ceiling and even unto the entire house.
It's a foundational problem.
Right. And so for me, that's why, I kind of added to, with no disrespect to Dr. Gottman, I love his stuff, but I kind of added to it. I also love Dr. Sternberg's stuff, and then added my own little twist to it, that solid ground that we build our house, our marital house, relationship house upon. So I call it creating marriage with a tip of the hat to Dr. John Gottman and Dr. Julie Gottman and Dr. Robert Sternberg. So there you go, Right. So, when someone is secure in their attachment, and I mentioned they can express themselves authentically.
And that's huge.
It is.
It's huge because that's one of our biggest tasks here on Earth is to be fully who we are.
Yeah.
Right.
And in relationships, and we mentioned this yesterday, in relationships, it's about witnessing each other in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't witness you if you're hiding all the time.
Yeah. And I mentioned a movie yesterday. I couldn't think of the name yesterday of the movie, but the movie is "Shall We Dance?"
Yes.
And there's a quote from "Shall We Dance?" And it goes. I don't have it in front of me, but it goes something like, "There's billions of people on the planet,
right?
And so how can any one life, be noticed?" And it's about, I will be your witness. So when you enter into a healthy relationship with someone, one of the things you're doing is saying, I will witness your life and you will witness my life. Right.
And I let's stress also that role as witness, right? Because witness doesn't mean I'm going to take over and control your life, right? It means I'm going to watch you with admiration, like your biggest fan or cheerleader, right?
Yep.
But I'm also going to love you enough to be honest with what I'm witnessing in you.
Yeah.
And that's how we grow, is by truly witnessing and sharing what we're witnessing with each other, so that we can, if we did get into the relationship with unsteady ground, it is through the witnessing and the non-judgmental sharing that we can begin to firm up that ground within ourselves, right? Of the relationship with self.
Now, when a person who has a secure attachment, when they're confused or they're uncomfortable, they don't sit and quietly analyze or hope the other person's going to read their minds.
Can't you read my mind already?
Or know that they're upset. Instead, they communicate. They directly communicate. Right now, I'm feeling blank, 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 fill in the blank. In other words, I've noticed you have been a little distant recently, or I've noticed it feels like, to me, that there's a little distance the last couple of days. Is everything okay? Is everything going okay with you? Is everything, how are we doing? How's our relationship going,
For you.
For you, yeah. And so it's the willingness to check in. You don't sit there and just kind of try to mind guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Which can be huge for people who have grown up in one of these insecure attachment styles.
Yeah,
right?
because you get used to figuring out, trying to figure out
how, particularly as a child, how your caregiver felt and what their needs were so that you could be safe and loved and protected, right?
Right.
And, I've always loved that idea that we come into the world knowing that we will be loved. And so whatever our parents, our caregivers show us or do for us, around us, with us, we assume is love.
Yeah.
And so that's where things can get confusing.
Absolutely. We are talking this evening here on Strategies for Living about how people who are securely attached from, inside themselves, how do they act in relationship? What does a secure attachment look like? Talking about that today here on Strategies for Living, and we have more to come. Stay right where you are. It's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, and Strategies for Living with Lauren Leon McMillan, with David McMillan. And we're talking this evening about our relationships and,
secure relationships look like. Secure attachment.
What does secure attachment? Yeah, we want, you want secure attachment. We know not everybody has that. No. So if you did have secure attachment, what would that look like? Well, that's what we're talking about today here on Strategies for Living. And Lauren, sometimes, even in the best of relationships, you feel like, well, look, my needs aren't being met over the long term. So if you are securely attached, you're going to communicate that you don't feel like the relationship is working completely like you want it to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This also kind of harkens back to what we've already been talking about in terms of, if you grew up insecurely attached, you may not have even known what your needs were because you had to abandon them early on.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so, again...
So part of the process is really coming back to knowing what your needs are and that balance of a healthy interdependence, meaning that, there are some needs that you meet on your own, but in a relationship, there are also needs that are interdependent on one another.
Right.
Right.
But people who are securely attached are also comfortable with being alone because they're confident that they have the ability to meet and build a life with someone where there is a mutual need meeting, if you will. But if that doesn't happen, they've got, again, this healthy attachment style has a healthy attachment with themselves.
Right.
They're they can be okay by themselves.
Yes.
I might prefer to be with you.
Right. And they have an inner esteem that says, well, I'm worthy of someone where we can be reciprocal with our needs.
Right.
And I don't need to go chase that or, go meet them all on my own because nobody else can do it.
Right.
Right. Those are the two extremes.
Now, in secure relationships, these relationships, they're relationships between two securely attached people tend to be drama-free without the emotional roller coaster that happens when you have wounded attachments.
And this is a biggie. I get clients who, throughout their healing process, right, there comes a point where, within the relationship, there's a sort of what they might see as boring, right? But it's truly a peaceful contentment and a security that they're not used to.
Yeah, because if you come from those insecure attachments, you might see the mixed signals are the fighting as passionate. And so you might mislabel that.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do. So people with secure attachment really prefer the stability of a person whose words and actions all line up, and they try to give the same in return.
Right.
They try to offer the same thing in return.
The no drama, but that's what's required for deep connection as well.
Yep. And they can also see that their partners and their friends are human beings. Yeah. So they understand there's going to be bad days. There's going to be even bad periods where, there might be less connection and times where, they get hurt. Right. In other words, they don't expect perfection because they've learned to trust people, and they mostly assume positive intent from other people.
Yeah,
right?
that's a big one.
Yeah,
and if you grew up where you were abandoned often, you might feel like any sort of disconnection, which is natural over a process of a relationship, like you said, to have periods of more or less connection, right?
Right.
But if you grew up anxiously or avoidantly attached, that might be seen as a threat.
Right.
Or it might send you into a panic, like, oh my goodness, what did I do? What can we do?
Yeah. Now, of course,
I'm losing him or her.
Yeah. And just because we're securely attached, we still live in the world with a lot of other people. So, things even like betrayal are going to happen. And if someone is securely attached, if somebody betrays them or engages in patterns of behavior that are toxic, again, they understand that's about the other person. It's not their internalized issues. It's not a failure on their part. It's not a reflection of who they are. They can easily say, okay, like we say a lot, hurting people hurt people, right?
Right. And I'm secure enough in myself and my attachment to know that, I've done all that I can.
Yep.
And I'm worth more.
Absolutely. And they also understand adults are fully responsible for their own behavior. So they're not into that drama triangle, rescuing or fixing or parenting other people, because they believe people are capable. They see others as capable. And that, another B word we talk a lot about besides balance is boundaries.
Yes.
So they set clear boundaries because they've been taught to value their own well-being, not just the well-being of others. There's that balance,
Right.
but then there's that boundary, right? You can't. I'm not gonna be. I'm not okay with you treating me in that way.
Right.
You know. Now, I think there's no such thing as a 100% securely attached, no matter how good.
No.
Because we're all raised by human beings.
Right.
But here's,
And attachment theory wasn't understood or practiced until very recently.
absolutely.
Right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
it's a generational thing.
Even though it came out in the late 50s, was developed in the late 50s, it's just really been the 2000s where we've really started talking about it. Late 90s, early 2000s.
And especially with the internet and social media, we're way more able to have this information and put it into practice.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. We can all practice.
Yeah.
We can all practice becoming more securely attached. And we can do that in the relationship with ourselves and in our safe, secure, healthy relationships with others.
And if you recognize yourself as anxiously or avoidantly attached, I mean, the best thing you can do is talk about it with whomever you're in a relationship with.
Yep.
I mean, because that's where all the work happens.
And if you feel like you have an attachment issue and you're working on it and you need some help, a good mental health counselor or professional can be golden.
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes to helping you here. There's also some great books and, as you mentioned, stuff available on the internet. But nothing, is better than sometimes working with another individual, and
Again,
so that
it's in relationship.
yeah, absolutely. Talking about secure attachment relationships, how do they act? How do they behave? Talking about that today here on Strategies for Living. And Lauren and I will be right back in just a moment, right here on Strategies. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking about how securely attached people act in relationships. So, were we clear as mud today? This is hard stuff.
It is.
This is hard stuff.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, and when people hear the attachment theory, it's not complicated.
No.
But when you hear it the first time, you might go, huh? Mm-hmm. I mean, I didn't get a lot of this in graduate school. I went through the late 80s, early 90s in graduate school, and I don't recall anybody in any of my classes talking about attachment theory.
Surprisingly,
Yeah.
I actually got some of it in undergrad.
Well, and that's super.
Yeah.
That's the value of a centenary education, I think.
That's right.
But all education is not created equal. But here's the thing: the bottom line is that we can all use some tune-up here. We can all. I encourage all of us to take whatever you've you're taking away from the program today, and challenge yourself to learn more, because wherever your attachment style is, you can, you can move and grow
absolutely
more toward a secure attachment. And again,
and you can't grow or change what you don't know or are aware of
right.
at first.
And what would our world look like? How would our world look different if, we had a world, a majority of securely attached individuals?
Just looking for a critical mass. That would be great.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you have done it again.
You have.
I don't know about that. I need to work on my attachment. Folks, thank you for doing it again with us, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible. The Robinson Film Center, and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call. For Lauren Leon McMillan, I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.